Welcome to day 8 of Vlogmas. In today's episode, I decided to reset my bookshelves and also go over all the books I was supposed to read in 2025. I hope you enjoy today's video. So we're about to go through the first 5 books on my 2025 TBR, and we'll see of the 5 how many I've read. We'll see. Editing Kayla here. Yes, I know I arrived very early on in this episode, but that is because I unfortunately discovered while I was editing that the screen recordings I took of the video were somehow corrupted. Like sometimes they would play and sometimes they would just be like still stuck on the pause screen, but the audio continued. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the audio because the audio is fantastic. It's fine. It's great. And I'm just going to like graphics whatever book it is that I'm talking about. Not ideal. Like I would have loved to include like the videos, but I just don't want to go through the hassle of re-recording the video again, if that makes sense. I hope that's okay with you guys. Woo! It's a party. There are a couple nonfiction books in this lineup today. Starting with nonfiction. But we have as I drop books, we have American Scary. I did not read. It was actually a book that I had checked out from the library. And at this point in time, I thought about checking it out again and reading it, but I don't necessarily know if I want to. The thing with me is I really have to be in the mood for nonfiction. And currently, I'm not in the mood for nonfiction. Up next, we have Queen Macbeth by Val McDermid. So fun story, true story. Queen Macbeth by Val McDermid. If you have been watching my 12 Days of Vlogmas, then you would have known that I actually recently consumed this book, thought it was interesting, gave it a 3.5, and so yeah, can tick that off the list. Blake Crouch's Run. If you guys know. I have not read this book. Again, another library checkout. These first 3, I think, were all library checkouts. I don't know if any others were library checkouts. And I think I have also checked this out again sometime this year, and I just never got around to it. I will note, the reason I'm so intrigued in reading Run is because Blake Crouch wrote Recursion, and I loved Recursion last year. I read it in 2024 and I absolutely loved it. So I am still intrigued in reading Run. Also, I'm just like looking at this setup and I can't wait to be done with this project and have my bookshelves looking, I don't know, different right now. I want to reread Tithe by Holly Black. And with that, I want to
this is when I start throwing up series.
Modern fairy tale. Okay, so Tithe would have been a reread. I got, I think, about 30% of the way through it. And then for some reason I set it down. It's not like I was bored with it and I was like, oh, I'm tired of this book. I just set it down and forgot about it. Do you guys ever do that? Where you're like reading a book and you absentmindedly just set it down and don't return to it until years later and you see that there's a bookmark in it and you're like, oh yeah, I did read this book. So that's kind of the situation with Tithe. And obviously if I didn't finish Tithe, I didn't read the rest of the series. We have one more to go. I'm pretty sure it's a series, but I'm also pretty sure this section is all rereads of series. I also want to tackle a novel of Elfham series. So that is The Cruel Prince, The Wicked King, and The Queen of Nothing. Okay, so I did not read the novel of Elfham series. Is that what it's called? Is that what I said? Pretty much Cruel Prince. Didn't touch it. I don't think did I read any of the series that I have on this list? I don't think so. We'll find out later on in this video. So of the first 5, we had American Scary. Not really interested in reading that currently. Queen Macbeth. Read it. 3.5. Run by Blake Crouch. Still interested. We had the Modern Fairy Tale series starting with Tithe by Holly Black, and then we had a novel of Elfham series starting with Cruel Prince by Holly Black. And of all those, I only read 1. Not to a great start on this 25 and 2025 recap. I have barely even started deconstructing my bookshelves, and I'm already like sweating. I'm like, oh my god, I need to change. I need to put on like a t-shirt or something. But I had no idea how many young adult books I owned. I own an exorbitant amount of young adult books. I haven't even pulled all of them yet, and I feel like there's so many, which is kind of, it's not ruining my plans per se, but I was like, okay, this is great. I'll just have kind of like all the young adults congealed in one spot. But apparently they make up a bulk of my fantasy books. So I don't know. We're going to figure it out. We're going to be playing a game of bookshelf Tetris today. I definitely want to organize by genre. I think it's good to pull all the young adults out, but I think I'm going to get more specific on like their specific genres that they fall into, whether it's romance, fantasy, sci-fi. I think that's how I'm going to do it. Because now we've learned. We've learned that I own way more young adults than I thought I did. Because initially I was just like, oh, I have like 10 young adult books. That's perfect. There's far more than 10. There's 42. Okay, now that we have put on something a little bit more breathable, let us go into our next 5 books. The Imperium by Rebecca Yarros, aka everyone just knows it as Fourth Wing. Onyx Storm comes out at the end of January. Started Onyx Storm, and then I realized I thought the Imperium was going to be a trilogy, and when I found out a few chapters into Onyx Storm that's not a trilogy, and that not only is it not a trilogy, but Rebecca Yarros is taking a break from writing the series, I was like, I am not going to rush to read this and then just have to wait a year, 2 years to get the next installment. So I'm intrigued if I mention Iron Flame, because I can't remember if at this point if I had read Iron Flame. So we'll find out. So I plan on finishing Iron Flame in January, and then obviously consuming Onyx Storm at the end of January. I call that a win. I'm going to tick Iron Flame off the box. And again, I would have devoured Onyx Storm if it wasn't not the last book in the series. Does that make sense? And I don't think I ever owned this series because, again, Kayla lived at the library.
I know what series
this
is gonna be.
I read the series specifically from the library. I would just like to say I am a hipster and was one of the first people to ever read this series.
So cringy.
Because, again, I lived at the library, so anytime there was a new book on the shelf, I was yoinking that thing right off the shelf. And that series... I love how I'm, like, really being like, I was the first, don't come at me.
Yep.
And now I'm, like, slightly embarrassed to tell you that the series that I would love to retackle this year is the Twilight series.
So this was actually before I found out that the Twilight series was having its 20th anniversary. I was just like, oh, that would be fun to reread it, because it's a series that I devoured literally when the books first came out. I will note, I did start Twilight. Did I finish it? No. But also, this is a reread, so I don't feel bad about not finishing it. I would love to reread the Hunger Games trilogy. Didn't even touch it. I think eventually down the road, another one where I was like, didn't know Sunrise on the Reaping was coming out, didn't know anything about the hoopla of everyone and their mother all of a sudden reading the Hunger Games series. Kayla just knew. I just knew in my little noggin. I was like, these would be 2 series that I loved when they first came out, and I would love to reread them. Just so happened everyone else wanted to reread them. Didn't read them. Likely will not read them this year, but who knows, maybe in 2026.
2 more series that we have to go over. God Killer trilogy. Faithbreaker comes out in April.
I am very proud to announce that I did, in fact, right here, I did, in fact, finish Sunbringer and Faithbreaker this year. So I have completed the God Killer trilogy. I loved it. I definitely had my qualms about both Sunbringer and Faithbreaker, but overall, loved the story. It was so great. So that is 4 that we've talked about so far. 2 of which I have read. Let's see about this last one. The last series on my list. So let's see what series Kayla slotted this time last year.
I would like to tackle is actually a manga, and that is Death Note. I know this is old.
I was like, I'm pretty sure I put Death Note on this list. So I only physically own Death Note Volume 1 and Volume 2. Have I read them? No. But because they're manga, there's potential to still read them in December 2025. But yeah, so those are our next 5 books. So just to recap, and series, I should actually say, our last 5 series on this list, which was The Imperium, didn't read Onyx Storm, but I did read Iron Flame. Twilight, started Twilight, didn't finish it. Then we had The Hunger Games, didn't even touch it this year. Then we had A Fallen God trilogy, finished that. Whoop, whoop. And then we had Death Note. So of the 5, we have 2. So I'm not gonna lie, I was contemplating organizing this over here, but I think honestly, this is such a big undertaking that we'll just pretend that isn't there for now. But anyways, what I have done is I took all of my romance books, which are currently on the ground right here. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have these first on the shelves just because they'll be on the top rows. While I do have quite a selection of romance novels, you don't ever really see my top row. Like if I'm just doing a talking head moment in front of my bookcase, you guys don't see it. And I don't know, my brain's just like, yeah, that works. Okay, y'all, we have 2 genres tackled, romance and mystery, and I thought it'd be a perfect time to take a little break and catch up on the next 5 books on my 25 books to read in 2025. Also, y'all, anytime I have my nails done, I feel like I just need to talk with my hands, as if my hands aren't the same hands I have when I don't have nails. We have Everyone is Watching by Heather Gooden. I read Everyone is Watching by Heather Gudenkoff, and I didn't particularly like it. I don't 100% remember my reasoning behind why I didn't like it, and also I don't remember, I know I filmed reviewing the book, but I don't know if I actually uploaded that dedicated video. But I did read it, and here's my star rating. The Third Perspective by... This is a nonfiction book by Africa Brooke called The Third Perspective. I have not read it. Don't know where it is currently, but ooh. That could be like one of those fun books to read right before the new year. So what The Third Perspective, in a broad sweeping scope, what it's about is it is about kind of like you always have these polar opposite viewpoints in the world, right? No matter what, there's kind of like the two big wheelhouses of thought. And in reality, though, there's always like this middle ground. There's always this area of gray when it comes to actual humans and their point of views and their opinions on things that are going on in the world. And so the third perspective kind of covers that topic. There's this middle area that we don't really hear from often enough.
We have Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle. This was an anticipated...
I love this book. I read this book. I don't think I gave it a 5-star, but here's the rating I did give it eventually. But I'm actually currently in the middle of reading Lucky Days by Chuck Tingle. And I honestly am having such a blast with Lucky Day.
Reading books that I was excited to read in 2024. In 2025. So we have Beartown by Frederick Bachman.
Okay, Beartown. Still have it. Haven't read it. I don't know, honestly, if I want to read this book anymore. I have thought about unhauling this book so many times. So let me know in the comments down below. Have you read Beartown? Did you like it? Do you think I should read it? Or do you think I should just get rid of it and never think about it ever again?
It's all about.
Last one.
Okay, y'all. Up next, we have Bunny by Mona Awad.
Interesting. Bunny by Mona Awad. I haven't read that one yet. I feel like it was on one of my TBRs. Here's the thing. Even though I don't make TBR videos anymore, I do still kind of make monthly TBRs for myself. And I think Bunny was on a list at some point in time. I just never got around to it this year. But of the 5 books that we just covered, Everyone is Watching by Heather Gudenkauf. I read it. Then we covered The Third Perspective by Africa Brooke. Haven't read it. Kind of want to read it. Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle. Read it. Loved it. Then we covered Beartown by Frederick Bachman. And then the final book, I literally just said it. Kayla, what was it? Bunny by Mona Awad. Haven't read it. It is the next morning. Why do you ask? Because we have shorter daylight hours. And I didn't really want to work on this project in the dark. Honestly, I don't know. Overhead lighting isn't my favorite. So we're back, baby. Also, I love how yesterday I was wearing that one sweater and I'm like, I'm overheating. And then today I had the sheer audacity to not only put on a button up, then I was like, I'm gonna make it cute and cozy with this little cardigan. So needless to say, I'm already overheating. Anyways, we are gonna hop into the penultimate set of books for 25 and 2025.
Another nonfiction. Paris the Memoir.
Now, I read Paris the Memoir. I loved Paris the Memoir. I thought it was so fascinating. And honestly, one of my favorite things about this book is it truly felt like Paris was just having a conversation with the reader. Like, she would kind of go off on these little side tangents. It was sometimes felt like just a random stream of consciousness. And I really loved it because I grew up with Paris Hilton. I could just imagine her the entire time literally telling me this story and talking about all this.
Editing Kayla here. One thing I did actually forget to mention about this book is that if you listen to the audiobook, Paris Hilton herself is the one narrating it, which I think also just added a layer of like, oh, I'm just like hanging out with my friend and she's just telling me the story. Great recommendation for not only the book, but the audiobook. And also she had a documentary come out. I think it was back in 2020. It's on YouTube, was on YouTube. If I can find it, I'll link it down below for y'all. The documentary was, oh my God, it was so good. I would highly encourage you, if you don't read the book, at least watch the documentary. It was phenomenal.
Next, we have Jawbone by Monica Ojeda.
Another book I read. Love it. 2 for 2. Jawbone by Monica Ojeda. Initially, I thought was going to be horror, and it was a horror thriller-ish, but it definitely was more literary fiction. And if you do not know, I am not the biggest fan of literary fiction. It's just not my personal cup of tea. So while I did kind of enjoy it, it wasn't like my favorite book ever. I still own it. It was still interesting. I would probably recommend it to like certain people. But yeah, overall, like the overarching prose of the book and the storytelling just wasn't my usual, to say the least.
Next on the list is We Solve Murders by Richard Osman.
I have not read yet. Damn, I was hoping we'd get like 3 in a row. And I don't know what it is about just Richard Osman in general, but I'm always like intrigued to read his work, and people always speak highly of his work, and so I buy it and I'm interested in it, but then it just sits on my shelf and I'm like, I actually have no desire to read this. That's how it was with Thursday Murder Club. I owned Thursday Murder Club for so long, and finally it just got to the point where I'm like, I don't think I'm ever gonna read this. I'm never gonna pick it up. And so I got rid of it.
I have read The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley, and I was so about that one.
Yes,
but I've heard a lot of people say that The Paris Apartment is where it's at when it comes to Lucy Foley.
I have read The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley this year, and I loved it. Oh my God, I loved it so much. Where she fumbled the ball in The Hunting Party, she definitely like picked up the ball and made a touchdown with The Paris Apartment. I had such a good time with that book. Oh my gosh. Yes. Yay, we finally hit 3 books. So we are on our last book for this round.
This is The Wicked Boy by Kate Summerscale, and it is the mystery of a Victorian child murderer.
Say less. I have not picked up The Wicked Boy by Kate Summerscale this year. And I don't know why. Like, a part of me is interested in it, but I think it is actually technically a work of nonfiction. And I think for the longest time I thought it was fiction. And so yeah, a part of me is like, I don't necessarily want to pick it up. But also at the same time, I read The Devil in the White City by Eric Larson, and I really enjoyed that. And even though it's technically nonfiction, the prose lent more to a storytelling variety. So maybe The Wicked Boy will be like that, but yeah, of all the books I've picked up this year, I just haven't really had the urge to pick up The Wicked Boy.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Are you hiding now? Oh, there you are. Hello.
So we are in a bit of a pickle currently because I'm getting to this shelf case unit over here. However, as you can see right here, this bottom row of pretty much all of my shelves, it has become this weird catch-all area where I kind of just put miscellaneous books, I put journals, I put workbooks, I put my craft supplies. Like it's just like this catch-all area. A part of me kind of just wants to move all this random catch-all stuff to the bookcase that is underneath my TV. Because to be honest with y'all, I unfortunately don't, even though I'm like I look at my TV, obviously, when I'm watching it, but I don't necessarily pay much mind to the books that are on that specific bookshelf. So I kind of think if I just make that whole bookcase shelf situation just kind of a really cute, I would change things around, work on some organizing. But I think if I just make it solely kind of like an aesthetic catch-all bookcase and then just have all of my books on my main 2 bookcases, I think that might be the move. I think that's what we're gonna do. I'm just going to focus solely putting all my books on the 2 big bookcases, and if I need to like overfill onto the TV bookcase, then I will. But for now, I think what I'm gonna do is solely focus on the 2 bookcases. So I am almost done figuring out how the frig I'm putting all these books on these bookshelves, but I figured we can check in and see the final slotting, the final grouping of my 25 books to read in 2025.
The book that I was obsessed with in 2024 but never actually read in 2024, we have Lady Macbeth by...
I read Lady Macbeth and I was so disappointed by Lady Macbeth. I wouldn't say it's like the worst book I've ever read, but it was like the biggest letdown I had. Does that make sense?
Apparently 2025 is my year of reading Lady Macbeth retellings because we're all tired of the old fool Macbeth. Okay, y'all.
That's so funny.
I'm not sure actually how I feel about this book that I'm about to show you, but apparently this is the ultimate book when it comes to dark academia. You want dark academia? You want some academic vibes?
I already know.
You have to read Donna Tartt's The Secret History. Why did no one tell me this is like a giant chonker of a book though?
But seriously, it's so big. I haven't picked it up yet, and a part of me wants to read it during the winter time. I don't know why. I feel like a lot of times when people think dark academia, they think autumn, but for me, autumn is like the perfect time to be outside. And so dark academia definitely has more winter energy to me personally. That might have to be a December read. We'll see.
But in the same vein, If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. I've already started.
Is that the 3rd book we've talked about? It is. I was about to say we struck out, but we have one with Lady Macbeth. I have not read If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. It's giving winter energy. However, I feel like it might be giving more late January energy, specifically Minnesota, because in Minnesota, late January is kind of when you start to get sick of the cold. At that point, we don't typically get a lot of snow. Then sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. It's hit or miss. But predominantly that time of year is when it starts to get bone chillingly cold. Like I'm talking, we're in -20 with wind chill, so it feels like -50 outside. So you truly, truly, truly want to be bundled up inside and not even think about stepping outside during that time of year. And that just screams dark academia.
And that is Beautiful Revolutionary.
I haven't read it. Something about this book in particular is giving spring summer energy. This story is about the Jonestown cult. I don't know, something about it. It's giving hot, humid. Ugh. Like that's what this book I feel like would probably sit well in. Last one. Did I read it?
I feel like I should have had something.
Oh no.
More grand. Last but certainly not least, we have One Perfect Couple by Ruth Ware.
I did read it! So, One Perfect Couple by Ruth Ware. I didn't love it. And I'm starting to realize that I don't necessarily love Ruth Ware. I read The Woman in Cabin 10 last year. And at first I really liked it, but the more I sat with it, the more I was all like, it's just kind of meh. And One Perfect Couple felt the same. I will say though, of the two books, I would probably recommend One Perfect Couple more than The Woman in Cabin 10, but not by much more. Of the 25 books, we read 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. We read 11 of 25 books. I would like to get that up to at least 50% read, which would be adding 2 more books to the list. So I'm gonna finish wrapping up this remodel of my bookshelves, and we'll chat about the last few books that I would like to tackle in 2025. I decided to pull up the fireplace because I was like, oh, that was so cute in my video. I think I'm happy with how this turned out. Knowing me, I'll probably change it in like a week or 2. But for now, I like it. I definitely like it more organized by genre than how I had it, which was just alphabetical by author's last name. And then this little bookcase over here, I do like the concept of it kind of being like a catch-all bookshelf and having all my books on the 2 main cases, but I definitely want to make that look a little cuter, but that's a task for another day. Also, we went through all 25 books that I wanted to read in 2025, and we found out that I had only read 11 of the 25. And as I was going through the list, I realized there were a couple books that I definitely want to prioritize these last few weeks of December. Let's talk about them, shall we? First and foremost, we have Death Note. Again, I do have volume 1 and volume 2 of the series. I for sure want to, at bare minimum, read volume 1 and volume 2. And then these next 2 books might be shooting for the stars, but I would love to read The Third Perspective by Africa Brooke. And I actually want to read the synopsis for y'all just because I don't think this is a book that's highly talked about. It just so happens that I personally follow Africa Brooke on Instagram, and that's how I discovered her book. They have their own point of view, and you have yours. And somewhere in between is where Brooke calls the third perspective. Self-sabotage and self-censorship are pervasive problems in the modern world, especially with the increase in binary thinking and us versus them mindsets. Africa Brooke paves the way to confidence, curiosity, and brave expression. So that is what The Third Perspective is all about. And then finally, I know I said that this genre feels like it should be read in the cold, dark depths of the frozen tundra that Minnesota can become. However, I also think it could be nice to read it when it's just a snow globe outside, and that is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. A lot of people know what it's about, but if you do not, let me quickly read just the first little blurb of the synopsis for you, shall we? Enter the players. There were 7 of us then. 7 bright young things with wide, precious futures ahead of us, though we saw no farther than the books in front of our faces. I do want to crack into this book. My 3 books that I would like to tackle before the end of 2025 are Death Note, The Third Perspective, and If We Were Villains. Let me know in the comments down below what books you hope to tackle in the last few weeks of 2025. And at the beginning of 2026, I will be posting another books I want to read in 2026. I don't think I'm going to do 26 books I want to read in 2026. I think I'm going to keep it a little bit more manageable, maybe like 12 books, 1 for each month. I think that's a good idea. Anyways, y'all, thank you so much for hanging out with me while we reorganized the bookshelves, did a little bookshelf reset, if you will. I'll see you in the next episode of 12 Days of Vlogmas.